Thank you. I mean, I'll try to keep it as brief and clear as possible. But yeah, thank you for this space and for this discussion. I guess now it's been nearly a month since one of the most high impact incidents that has taken place across different parts of Mali. This is when two of the main groups that have been operating there for decades, that is the Al Qaeda affiliate Janim and Tuareg separatists who have over the years rebranded themselves and now are called the FLA. They launched a series of coordinated attacks in the northern regions, which is where the contestation for independence has been taking place since Mali gained independence in the 1960s, in the central regions, which were targeting a key strategic base in Sevare, as well as in the southern regions, that includes the capital Bamako. These attacks were quite significant. The defense minister, who has been at the heart of the counterinsurgency campaign since the military came into power in 2020, was killed in a suicide bomb that was claimed by the Al Qaeda group. These groups have taken advantage of various grievances within the general society and the public in areas where they do maintain operational control to co-opt, recruit, and also create environments that do not allow for the government to be able to create a sense of presence. The insurgency dates back to 2012, at least this wave of it, when initially separatist groups carried out a series of attacks and then later on claimed that they had taken over the northern parts of Mali, declaring it an independent state from the rest of the country. This then spawned an operation which then brought in French forces as the government then invited the French intervention. They sought support to be able to get their military back in the north, and they were able to retake some of that territory. And then this led to a multinational counterinsurgency and stabilization effort, which was being spearheaded by France alongside the UN, which came in with a stabilization force. But over this period, a lot of grievances continued to persist. So there was a split with the armed groups that had initially led that siege in 2012. Some of them became more radicalized, eventually declaring allegiance to Islamic State as well as Al Qaeda. The Al Qaeda group was only formed in 2017. Islamic State first declared presence in Mali and the Sahel in 2015. Around that time, the Malian government had secured a peace agreement brokered by Algeria and the UN to be able to just dissipate the Tuareg separatists and moving more towards incorporating some of the combatants into the national army and ensuring that the government was able to facilitate presence in the north while also including these groups in governance structures. But of course, there's been various challenges as a result of how that insurgency itself shifted, the fact that now radicalized Islamist militant groups were operating in the country. So it posed a different wave of challenges both for the government. It did expand security operations, but obviously this wasn't significant. By the time we were getting to the military coups in 2020, there had been grievances around elections that had held in previous years where people felt that the government was simply asserting itself rather than listening to people. There was the fact that the military itself had been stretched significantly thin, and French support wasn't really what it set out to be. It wasn't as responsive to the change of the insurgency, and military forces were still losing numbers in the front line. There were also the feelings that France was being more paternalistic, that it wasn't necessarily listening to what the expectations are, both of populations who were on the receiving end of those campaigns and also the receiving end of the militant violence. So then you've had a string of military coups, the first two in Mali in 2020, 2021, later on in Burkina Faso 2022, and then in Niger in 2023. And these groups, the militant groups, continued to progress. Currently in Mali, there is a blockade that is around Bamako, the capital, which is partly because of the spread of these insurgent groups, but now the tactical coordination we're seeing between a militant group and a rebel group, essentially the Tuareg separatists. In Burkina Faso, slightly similar dynamics, not so much a blockade, but at least the northern and the eastern regions of the country are experiencing high levels of militancy, partly attributed to Al Qaeda, but as well as Islamic State. And in Niger, surrounding some of the capital. But yes, the status quo now is that militant groups are posing a significant challenge to governments. They are trying to see to find if they can coordinate operations. So within the AES itself, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger have started forming a sort of counterinsurgency force. They're building it to be 15,000 strong. They are relying on a variety of other military partners, having asked France to leave the country and other partners who had been taking part of this Western contingent. But the capacity gaps are still quite evident. They still do need consolidated support. The regional community has been trying to move towards more counterinsurgency responsiveness as opposed to counter-coup responsiveness. And this may be one step towards stabilizing the region, although that will take a long time and it will require significant goodwill on both sides to ensure that the spillover effects of this insurgency do not then undermine the political and economic processes that are trying to ensure that the region remains stable and that there's cross-regional movement.
Thank you, Beverly.